Part of the show where I start. This is the start of the show. What's up, everybody? What's up, Brain? What's up, Ash? Back to work. So I scanned in the Sonic lines, and now I gotta set them up and do flats. That is the goal here, folks. I have to get this set up. So yeah. So, show you guys how I do all this shit, right? Alrighty. So let's double check this file first. Image size, it's kind of large. So let me open this up, copy this over into a copy of my file. See if it'll actually paste. No, it doesn't want to paste. Close that up, put that here. Okay, so let me go ahead and just get rid of this stuff. Double check. God damn it. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is remove the red. I don't need to remove the red, I just want to remove. I want to remove the border. Doesn't matter if it's perfect. I want to make sure the border's gone. Yeah, they'll end up a little softer though too. You know, like I can control how much plush I want to give them and how much texture I want to give them. So, depending on the coloring style. So, what I'm interested in is I just got to separate the pencil texture from the lines. Image adjustment, desaturate. So we've separated the texture because it's all red. And I've removed the border from the image because I'm going to re-add that digitally. And then I'm going to separate those lines. Oh, I forgot to reset my fucking tool sets. Deleted my preferences the other day, which means I'm going. Okay. Alrighty. So then I'll hit F4, and that separates the white, the black from the white. So now I've trapped the line art. I've trapped the tonal shade. So it's separated. And then when we turn this back on, we can go and re-add that. So the upside of this too is it allows me to control how much of the texture I want in the image. I think it's going well. So this is a process that I've just built up over the last several pieces, specifically with power prints. Like So I have these lines that I've inked, and then I have the texture I've been able to separate. That's why it's all in red. That's why the texture, pencil texture's in red, and the background's in red. So that I can just easily trap those and separate everything. Bada boom. And then what I can do, so let me make sure I got this right. Yeah, so that's that. So I will there, and then I'll turn this on and set that to color. And I can shift that from a red to a blue depending on what I need. I'll probably shift it probably to a purple, but we'll just leave it for red for now. Multiply 50%. Multiply 50%. And then I'm going to start doing my flats. So I'll just quickly come in here and start blocking in some characters. And this is a little tedious, but you're going to see that the flats that I do now are, this is why I do my own flats now instead of having Brandon do it. It's just because I don't need every little fucking thing selected out for selection. I still have to do all the coloring flats where I give everything a specific color, but I had to do that anyway, regardless of what he did. So, but because of the cuts and grabs, I just don't need a ton of selection flats anymore. I need to go in there and remove my signature. Getting better slowly. He wanted to take the night off because he had a hard day at work. And he greatly regretted asking that, but I cut him off and made him go to sleep. He doesn't seem to get that, like, creating art's supposed to be that thing you do to relieve the stress. He hasn't, despite how many times I've spelled that out for him and told him as such. Yeah. Doesn't understand that creating that stuff will give him the feeling of worth that he's missing from his shitty job. And I don't worry about the color picking right now. I'm just picking some gaudy colors so I can make sure everything is set up. God damn it. So I'll create a new folder and call this Select flats. And then we'll call this line art. Yeah, for him, no. And he would probably say, well, it's because I'm holding him to a standard. And I'm like, sure, that's it. I can't do Brandon's art for him. You know what I mean? I can't make him a better artist. So that's on Brandon. And I don't really care. I got shit to do, right? Problem is he's seen improvement, so now he's taking a step back. You know? Well, I don't know, folks. I'm not a good teacher. I share my tips and secrets and things I've learned, and I try to impart, you know, the idea that the fears that I've gone through and what I've done to try to like get past them. I'm not a good, you can do it if you believe in yourself. I'm like, no, you can totally fucking fail. I mean, maybe it's not for everybody. Maybe it's a hobby for a lot of people. I believe for Brandon, art is just a hobby. He's never going to have an art career, you know? It's just not. It's a hobby. So, there you go. That's fine by me. My life doesn't depend on Brandon doing his fucking job, you know? Oh. Brandon wasn't there to see me doing construction and perspective practice in my car at 4 in the morning after I got off at Kinko's at 3 a.m. in the parking lot of my school, you know, before I took a 4 hour nap before class in my car. He's under my two. He's not under my two. I mean, I wouldn't even know what you call it. He wants an art career. No, he's not gonna have an art career. It's a hobby. He would say, "Don't say that." I'm like, "Then do something about it. Prove me wrong." No one's gonna pay Brandon to do shit. You know? Until Brandon understands that doing this is just as important as his fucking workout and his diet and sleep. You know, I told him sleep less during the week, sleep in on the weekends. I've given him a very easy schedule that he doesn't have to think about. You know, but that's on Brandon. That is on Brandon. So check this out. Make sure you do this. See how Sonic goes behind? So if I select Sonic, he's going to go right through Knuckles. So as you make this stuff, select the thing in front of it and cut it out of the thing behind it. Very important. Very important tip, folks. Let's just go and make all the rings something here. damn it, it fucking reset all my... See, this was what pisses me off, is it went and fucking reset all my goddamn selections, everything I had. God, I hate Photoshop. Sometimes I hate it, you know? It hasn't lost all my preferences in 2 years, and then the other day I just did it. Really pisses me off. Fucking annoying is what it is. Next time it happens, I have to go through and take the day to fucking make sure everything's working again. Not the day, but you know, I gotta take a couple hours. Yeah, what I need to do is find the ones that I consistently like people bring up and then see if I can't refine those tips, you know? I mean, I don't know. Um, that's at the background. I don't need those foreground, those background rings. Tell me about it. I need to back up the preferences. That's what I need to do. Did I save all it? See, they don't let you save your fucking preferences. I wish it would. I gotta go take the actual file and back it up. Right? And then replace it when they corrupt. That's what I gotta do. So we'll select the coins and knock those out of Sonic. And then let's do, you know, I'm going to add to the coins, I'm going to add the stars. Not good. So I used to pay for things. I used to draw Stuff for people in high school. That's how I did it. Before that was even a thing, but I found the D&D guys, I found the goth kids, I found the band members who loved Animaniacs. I used to draw everything. Sometimes I take just a few of those dollars and then I go buy an Entenmann's cake with it and cut it up 6 ways and sell those slices and make 3 times as much money. During like film class and stuff, you know. And then I would use that money to go to Comic-Con. The hustle is real, folks. Before I continue on, there's a couple things I need to do. Kind of got ahead of myself. So now I need to save this as freelance, Negavisions, Sonic Fighters. Okay. Yeah, my dad owned a security company. He told me not to get into art. My dad died of a heart attack before the age of 60 from the stress of his job, so I don't know. No guarantees in life, folks. Let me scale this down a little bit. Image size. Alright, so we want to keep this closer to 400 dpi so we're not killing ourselves here. In this 6.875 by 10.543, it's just comic book page size. That's when I do covers. That's how big those are, 400. They scale up to 11.25 by 7.25, so you don't have to worry about that. They scale up just fine. It just saves on file size and circumference. Art doesn't pay well. As a main gig, that's generally true. As a side gig, it's a way to keep yourself from ever having to worry about getting a raise at that shitty fucking job that you might be at. You know? I mean, if I could kind of go back and do it, I probably would have stayed at, like, I would have probably gotten more into, like, a Kinko's thing or something. Something, I don't know. I mean, they died, so print went away. I don't know. I don't know, folks. I can't think about what I do with my career. I got to focus on where I'm at now. So. For most people, it's true. For other people, it isn't true. So, I don't know. Do what you feel you must until you die. That's my advice. Nothing pays well long term. I mean, if you think about it, there are jobs that used to pay well, and they don't pay well no more. A lot of people used to manufacture cars in this country. See how that got them. I don't know. You know, there's no guarantees in life. There's just what's working today isn't working tomorrow. My advice is take something you don't have to bring home with you too much. If you want to do a job where you're plumbing, then when you come home, you make art. You know? It's the jobs where like you're stuck living there, trying to figure out their fucking career for them. You know, you're trying to build this place that you're never going to see a real financial return from. Then, you know. But I don't know. You know, there's plenty of people who make art a full-time career. They're super talented people. I've managed to do it just because I've removed all my debt. You can, just don't be. Here's my advice too: don't expect to always work at one place. Work at Marvel. Do whatever you feel you really want to do in life. You know, because there you go. You know, but there's no working at a comic company. It's all contract work. Control D. Let's just start bear. Bear. Yeah, and anytime you want to work somewhere, you gotta be willing to do all the steps it takes to get there, which means working at a bunch of other shitty fucking places. I mean, Marvel, quote unquote, don't submit to us. They don't even accept submissions anymore. You have to just be out there. They'll find you. Quote unquote, that's right out there. Submission guidelines. Don't send us stuff. We'll find you. I'm not a fan of that company, in case you've noticed. But I would never stop someone from wanting to. Joey wants, he's working his way up the ladder. If that's where you want to go, go. Don't let me ever get in the way. Because I wouldn't have listened to any fucking buddy tell me I couldn't do some shit I wanted to do. So I'll never tell somebody don't. I just say, figure what you want to do quickly and then laser focus. Laser focus. You know? Best advice I can give. Whatever that is. Later. Duck. Hey, what's up, Kyle? You can hit me up on Skype if you want. Iguana. Yo, what's up, Cal?
Good evening. The first video game system, and I guess only one I've ever purchased, I bought because of Sonic the Hedgehog.
The Genesis?
Yep.
Missed out on some better games. I love my Genesis, but it was evident to me very quickly I chose poorly. Should have been the system I got 3 years later, you know?
Nintendo 64?
No, the Genesis is 91, 92.
Super Nintendo,
Super
sorry.
Nintendo, yeah.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, I had friends that had Nintendo stuff.
I had friends, I just wasn't allowed to ever do anything. Or have them over. My best friend, Rich, he was on the podcast earlier. Yeah, growing up, we were like best friends, right? Which now, you move away and every now and then you hang out. But we grew up together and we became friends around the fourth grade. We didn't actually stay over at each other's house until I graduated high school. That's how my dad was. Yeah. Just, I don't know. My dad was a bit of a. I love my father, but thanks for wasting all those years, Dad. Like I couldn't live in my room the rest of my life. Like sitting here drawing, talking to my friends on the phone all night is about normal for me. You know. I always feel bad when people are like, what do I do with the career? My dad says this. I'm like, I don't fucking know, man, dude. It's too. I can't tell you what the world's gonna be like in the next 10, 15 years, man. Like, okay, you can't make a living now, but what if you can? Then and then you didn't do anything. Yeah, I don't know. It's complicated. You know, when I started the professional art career, my cousin was doing tech support help for this place. I think it was Quest or something like that. They were all the stuff for Gateway, 2001, 2002, and they were huge. And by the time, 2004, 2005, it was all gone. They outsourced that shit to India, you know? But everyone in their place in Montana was banking for them Quest jobs. So they're going to be the thing, man. We're going to have this, we got the lock. This is going to be the Silicon Valley of Montana. Oh, nope, done. So I don't fucking know. What happens? I mean, I was listening to there's a whole topic Sam Harris had on 2 podcasts ago with this guy who was saying that, in every other economy that's ever transferred over to like industrial revolution, machines, there's always been something that could pick up the slack instead of companies are just saying, well, some other fucking thing will appear that people can do. But the problem is they've always been entry-level jobs. And if real automation really kicks in, or when it kicks in, not if, the jobs, like people who are bagging groceries at Walmart can't go and become software engineers. That's not an entry-level job. Like, and I know people have been like, well, plumbing. I'm like, what happens when plumbing's all, when your plumbing's like iPhone, it's all computerized. What happens when you can't do that stuff,
Just get a robot to do all your plumbing,
But what are we supposed to do? How are you supposed to get the robot? Like, I don't know. I used to tell Dave when we were doing Dev Junior was just in the future. I'm like, why don't we just have this is when iPhone 3 or an iPhone first came out, so 2008. I was like, why don't we do the iPad, or that's what I call it, the iApartment, And I was like, yeah, so you get born into like, you have a place, it's all set up, you owe things, everything's just transitory, and everything's like your furniture's whatever OS they send you, it's all like digital furniture, And if you put more advertisements in your house, you get, pay less. I don't know.
That's the Amazon model.
I can't tell anybody what to do. All I know is I watched my father die, in the hospital. I watched him slip away, man. And I'm like, there's a lot of things he would have liked to do, So should get on doing them. Why he can, Who cares? You're like, well, what happens if you save for your retirement? What happens if you don't make it that far? I don't know. What if you get brain cancer at 33? I don't know, man. I just don't think there's any guarantees. I thought I had the whole career figured out. Until every career I chose disappeared. It's crazy. You mentioned something in the podcast I was listening to today where AI and robots are taking. That's the one I'm talking about. Ash, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And it's complex. Like, you do camera work right now, right? What happens if all they had to do is do, what would you call it, cinematographer? What if there was just a bunch of cinematography drones, Kyle? And all they got to do is just plug in what they need, And the drones are like chatbot driven, so they just, like, what if that can be automated?
Mm-hmm.
Scary for you, unless you become drone rental service. But,
Let's go do something else.
Yeah, I don't know what to do. That's where that idea of universal basic income comes in. But what does that even mean? What would be the universal basic income in an economy like that? Like, my one solution to that is, because on like Logan, you can see all those delivery trucks are automated, so one nearly runs that family off the road because there's no human behind the wheel. My trick on that is like, well, you'd have to have someone in the truck with them, but that also says that person would probably need to know some form of coding, which eliminates 99% of the fucking truckers currently on the market.
They just got to do like Hidden Figures and all learn to code.
Yeah. Then what? What happens when everyone does the same thing, but there aren't enough jobs to fill that, And then what happens when you have AI that can code itself?
then the Hunger Games begin.
I don't think so. I don't know. That's what I sit here thinking about when I'm doing flats.
See, I got lucky because when I was a kid, I wanted to be a comic book artist. That was back when you could make $1 million a year being an artist.
Right.
And then I ended up not. I'm like, I guess I'm not good enough. I better do something else. That worked out well because now comic book artists don't make anything.
Yeah, I was different. I said I'm not good enough. So then I went and got good enough. And realized it's a dead end career. It's a house of cards. Get out quick. Like, no, it's just like do the things you really want to do. You know, and don't go into debt doing them. That's my advice.
Those are mutually exclusive.
Not mutually exclusive. There's different kinds of debt. Like, hey, I took a credit card to get a computer to make cards. One thing. It's not accruing. Don't take one that you miss the payments and then you're accruing 40% interest every month for the remainder of your life. So I don't know. These are complex conversations to have, and there's no answers. And whatever answer you arrive at today will not be the answer 5 years from now. What do you tell a kid coming out of high school? Well, they were talking about on Joe Rogan the other day. It was like this. There's some diagram that says like the less you know about something, the more confident you are, and the more you know about something, the less confident you are. And I'm like, yeah, that's true, right? That's how you know some shit. Where you're like, I have no clue. You know. Because I was pretty certain I knew how this shit would work when I was 15, and now I'm like, I'm not even worrying about if I know. I'm just getting on with not knowing. You know, getting on with doing and not worrying about knowing. You know. Yeah, I put down a little bit of a bet today on the Justice League trailer thing we did. I was like, I have a feeling that if I could throw some money down now, I'm willing to bet that the storyline is basically Seven Samurai. You know, I think it's just going to be that's how you get around the Marvel origin thing. Just round up the heroes, fight the fucking evil thing killing the village. You know,
Mm-hmm.
basically it. Fox. No one ever said that every samurai in that movie needed their own origin movie. Yeah. It's funny though, but if you made that movie today, you would. Yeah. Tomorrow the Spider-Man trailer is supposed to come out.
And new, I guess,
New trailer.
there's been a trailer,
New
right?
trailer. Yeah, there's been one, so the new one.
Okay.
Trailer 2. The hey, we finished more visual effects shots trailer.
Now we have something to show you guys.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Even I have to go here and go, what the fuck was I doing? Oh yeah. This whole background's gonna be DigiPaint anyway, so it's just I gotta block it in. Get the selection masks up. even wondering if I'm doing it the wrong way right now. I probably, I think I am doing it the wrong way. Scheiße. Let me think about this for a second. You heard about Sony doing? Yeah, I heard about that. Sony making an R-rated Venom universe, really. Like they're gonna make. Marvel wants nothing to do with Venom for whatever reason. So Sony's gonna go off and make a Venom movie set in space or something. Alien, with the
They can
Venom.
do like the Carnage spin-off and have their entire Venom verse.
Yeah, Venomverse. He can get a talking dog, like the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons. I know that one. Oh, that Venom. Get Venom in wacky races. They can do time traveling Venom. He can like jump in between all the Raimi movies and shit. Get the almanac. Hmm. Hmm.
I'm sure they're just like, oh, Deadpool was R and made a ton of money, and Logan was R and made a ton of money, so we're just gonna make ours, and it'll make a ton of money because of that.
I don't know.
Sure,
I don't know. I
that's their
don't know
thought.
what they're doing.
That's their thought process.
I guess. I guess. I'd love to say it was that simple. But, I mean, Tim Rothman's in charge of Sony now, and Tim Rothman used to be in charge of Fox. You know, the guy who said big robots, giant robots are stupid. So, you know, yeah, we just want to see Spider-Man versus Venom done right, which that ain't ever happening. So, whatever. Hopefully it bombs. Teach them a good lesson. I hate to say that, but it is fun to watch them. I hope they spend $300 million. And it turns into a Bollywood musical. That might actually be good. Venom the musical. Venom Turn Off the Dark. Huh? Huh?
Yes.
That started out as a Batman musical? I'd been following that since 1999, 2000. So, yeah, that was around then, 2000, because I was in the Army when I first read about it. It was going to be, Tim Burton was looking at doing a Batman the musical. The internet was like, what? It was probably around the same time they first debuted the Spider-Man pick, the costume promo art, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. And somehow, you know how development hell works, right? you know how development hell, Kyle, want to hear some crazy shit? And this comes from Max Landis, right? You know that Trolls movie that just came out?
The treasure troll one.
Yeah, the Treasure Troll one. People say, hey, it's
Okay.
not that bad, right? It's kind of weird, but all right, Uh, that started out as an adaptation of Discworld. And through the development process, it became Trolls. So, Hollywood's a fun place. Yeah, I need to think about this. I think what I need to do is separate the characters from the background line art. Right? Right. That's what I need to do. Because I want to trace over all the elements that are in the background and make them all digipaint.
Yeah, I
Yet,
was
Kyle,
gonna say that, but I didn't want to like.
yet another way I complicate my art. You know? Another little thing I do, I just have to continually layer complications. Alrighty. So how do I do that?
Step 1.
Step 1, duplicate. So in case I fuck up, I have a copy. Hey, what's up, Lefty? Step 2. Let's turn off the tools. We'll lock that. We'll make a mask, and we'll just get rid of this stuff.
I was looking at some of your older art on DeviantArt today. And
Sorry.
Gotta say, you've come a long way.
Thanks, God. How older are we talking about? Like last year?
Even just since like your the Marvel saucies that you did,
Mm.
like your current saucies are so much better.
Oh yeah, that's why when people, I think it was you who were asking, what's the difference? I'm like, go look at it. Get back to me. You let me see. You tell me what the difference is. It's a complicated subject, you know. To the average person, I don't think they can tell. But Kyle, you're a collector of art, right? So you're a connoisseur, a connoisseur. It's a dinosaur from LA who collects art.
Connoisseur Rex.
But I mean,
See
I'd
it.
like to think I've improved, but I used to make some pretty cool shit. But what happened was it took a toll. It took a toll. And so then I had to figure out how to make cool shit without ruining my body. Required a giant reset. You know? So I don't know. There's a difference, right? Like, good enough for a career? Sure. Impressive enough to impress people? Probably not. You know? Two different things. See, I just feel like maybe this isn't how I should do it. Kyle. Gotta pick. But I mean, the saucy thing, I don't even know what I was doing. You know, I just didn't want to make clean art. And then I didn't want it to look real shitty.
Lefty, are you just writing the script for a comic book, or are you gonna draw it too?
Panel 1. The Civil War. That's easy. Just draw that. Do, 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 do.
Panel 1. Fade in.
Yeah, I love that one. On a comic script. I've seen it. I've seen it, dog. You laugh. I've seen it. I'm like, I got a question. How do you want me to draw that shit? So I put them in now just to make myself laugh. On Game Cave
I get
script, I write fade in and dissolve too, just because it's funny.
wipe cut too.
Yeah, yeah, Kurosawa style. Montage. We play the music. Yeah, I'll do this, and then I'll just invert and okay, 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 okay. Leo gets. Do. I think
Yes.
for me, it's all about what I can get out of each project. Like every time I do something, I'm trying to get a little something else out of it. Sometimes it's just refine cuts and grads. You know, on this one, I really want to push the digital background part, the DigiPaint background. Sorry. Uh, on the saucies, a lot of them was just, I did not know how to use watercolor. What the hell is Alizon Crimson Hue? What is Grumbacher? What is fucking, there's a billion of them, dude. Quarazine Gold. What is Payne's Gray? What is the best way to how do I mix skin tones with watercolor? Just, I don't fucking know. And then I would just throw splats everywhere just to figure out, so I can fund the other watercolors I need to fucking buy, you know? And then eventually it got to the point where it's like, how can I pay? People seem to like this watercolor stuff, so maybe I could use that to pay for that trip to the con. And we see what hijinks that ensued. And we got the Venom musical out of that one. Um, so I wasn't trying to improve my ability to paint so much of that. It was just get all those done and then figure out how to fix my career. Uh, and then through that, I just magically stumbled into the Copic thing, because I got so tired of doing. I had to do those sketches. Sold a lot of those sets with the sketches. I got tired of just doing pencil sketches, so I figured, oh, markers, that's nifty. And I knew I needed to learn markers anyway because people at cons were using them. So I was like, I better figure that out sometime. And then it was like, okay, I got to draw all this shit. So I got to be good at these pens, which led to this format, which allowed me to remove having to do digital inks on covers, which is great because that cuts out time, and also I get to now own the art and resell it. I mean, just the ability to improve what you're doing on top of the technique is a whole nother thing. How can I also make it look better? Then I came back to saucies, I said, well, what about saucies bother the fuck out of me? And one was that they're just not as bright as they look in person. So that was a problem. I wanted I wanted them to look even better when you see them. Two, not every character works with saucy. Like if someone said, hey, right now, Rob, I want a War Machine saucy, I'd be like, I gotta draw that War Machine in a way to which there's a lot of big shapes. I have to be very careful about how that's done. Because it can just become a giant fucking clusterfuck.
If
And
I
since
ask,
he's monotone, he's monochromatic, it just doesn't pop as much as something with color.
yeah,
So that's where the shadow saucy came from. So then I could take a War Machine, have some details here or there, pop in a shadow, and then use a color, maybe monochromatic, and then mix it with some purples or some blues or something, and put purple and blue into that mix, and then work out the color. Shit, Kyle. It's a lot of fucking effort, bro. It's a lot of peering into that. I feel like Gandalf sometimes with that pipe peering into the ring sitting in the fire. He's peering into
yeah.
that. I would not touch it. I would want to do good, but I would want to do good with my art, but my art would wield the power, makes everything evil, turns me into an asshole.
For the Rob Super Saucy Challenge, let's have him do Bone as a saucy.
Well, then that's pretty easy. You just pick a color to have bounce off them for the shade. So I could draw some foliage next to them, and have all the saucy part be a green shadow based off the. See, I've learned this, but it's come through like a lot of fucking thought how to get color into there. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Into a white blob.
yeah, or into monochromatic images or things that people bring up. What's Lefty say? Crab quit doing. I find the sausage really nice and unique. Couldn't imagine that careful color. Yeah, it takes a lot. And so what's nice is I have pushed it forward, but not a lot of people have really picked up on how that is, just, oh, it looks a little better. So when I see people doing saucies, I can tell what year, it came from.
What year they're imitating?
Yeah, what year? Well, I don't want to say imitating. They're inspired,
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's nice when you come up with something. It's kind of the idea. You come up with something, people are going to be inspired by it and do their own thing with it.
Yeah.
Um,
I didn't mean imitating in a negative sense. Just
what does bother me is when people say, "Hey, you can't do a good drawing. It needs to be like a shitty drawing that you then paint over it." That's just ridiculous. Like these plushies would all be perfect if I did them digital. They'd be perfectly round. They'd have perfect everything. But I'm not gonna spend fucking. I want to own the art. So I found with the cuts and grads, I can smooth things over because I'm coloring over the lines. I can fix that. If these lines were colored by a colorist, I can't guarantee the quality of my work. They wouldn't do that. But the same with the Sazia, like, yeah, I think you take a good drawing and then you try, to make it work. And it works with certain things, doesn't work with others. Like Final Fantasy 13, not a good idea. There, so that didn't take that long, right? Nah, it took 10 minutes. So if it takes an hour to do that, then I'm up a shit creek. Okay, I'm gonna save that. I don't know how I'm gonna do that yet. I need to redraw it, essentially.
that's right, Rob. Do it again.
Well, it only takes like 5 minutes to draw it. It wasn't that complicated. But I don't want line art for clouds. On comics, man, all the backgrounds are lines.
Mm.
It's not what I'm going for. And there's a way to do digipaints by using lasso tools and basically making silhouettes, which I've seen a few people do, like Raphael Lacoste. I'm like, that's what I've been trying to do with the landscape paintings when I was doing them. And that's why I've been learning the lasso tool to figure out how to do that better. And so that would be the goal, moving forward. But I don't want lines for clouds. It's ridiculous. Yeah, think about that for a second. I didn't want to try this in the arcade from the last cover because that's a lot of shit. I was like, nope, that background will be drawn. But nice blue sky, green clouds, little things in the background. Good one to do.
Perfect candidate for digipainting.
Pretty much. A bunch of arcade cabinets? No. As we increase the talent, then sure. So that's why I look at it now and I'm like, it just short of like deadlines and taking weird shortcuts to meet them, I just don't see me not improving for the next 20 years just because I have so many things to constantly be doing. And there's this balancing act between having physical art. So, I can't stress this enough, man. Like, especially after seeing like Kevin Eastman's whole gallery, like those little sketches, you get something that takes off, those little sketches end up being worth thousands of dollars. And if it was all digital, you got nothing. You're hoping to sell reprints. So One drawing can net you 10 grand. And then now the goal is to do 1 or 2 saucies a month. So as I eliminate the power prints, and those get done and completed, and I continue the cover art, hopefully the cover art is where these pinups come from, and the saucy thing is what I'm doing, saucy and game cave, whatever comic I'm making at home,
Mm.
So then I can do big saucies. I have a 20 by 30 piece of board sitting right there. You know that Hulk I just did?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hulk is going right on that fucker.
20 by 30.
20 by 30.
That's gigantic.
Yeah. Super saucies. You like it? You like the super saucy? Yeah.
I might need a super saucy.
Wait till people see it. I'm gonna take this shit. I'm gonna put all my shit in a fucking gallery. I'd be like, that's right, folks. I'm cashing in this year, and every year moving forward. Like that Knuckles pose looks pretty cool. We could take that and finish it. Put it on a. Oh, that Sonic looks cool. We can take that hand, finish it, do another copy. Do a Sonic Super Saucy. So when I go to cons, I'll be like, boom, there's a Super Saucy. Boom, there's a Super Saucy. Boom, there's a Super Saucy. And make the road trip to galleries.
Gigantic size.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Super duper sassy. And then Brandon was like, how much ink will I use? I'm like, well, not much. They're drops of paint. So if it's taking me 2 drops now, and I scale the drawing up 3 drawings, just 2 times 3. Now it's 6 drops of paint. That's why I've been writing down all the formulas.
Mm-hmm.
So that I can just do the math. And then if it isn't, if it isn't double or triple, maybe it's times 4. But we can't. It's not tubes of paint. It's thin layers of paint. Like how big does the brush need? Do I need to scale up the brushes? So instead of a 6, I need to go up to a 12 for that. So there may be 3. There might be a cost of buying 3 extra brushes. Then there's the time. Okay, so if I can do a regular saucy, it's 6 hours, but does a super saucy can't take 60? Maybe it's a 20-hour. Can't. It's not that hard. It's tedious, but it's not hard, The paint dries at the same rate. So, yeah.
In fact, being that much larger, by the time you're done drawing a drip in, the top will be dry.
And I'm always going to do a super saucy, something I've already done, so I already have a test run.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's right, dog.
The real question is, what will you do for Super Saucy 2.0?
Charge more. Charge more, Kyle. You don't want Super Saucy 2.0. You want to get in on the 1.0, trust me.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Get in on the Super Saucy beta program?
Yeah. Because if I charge $300, it's going up. I assure you. The goal is to sell $1,000 paintings, $5,000 paintings. That's the goal.
It's a good goal to have. I approve of that goal.
Me too.
Maybe less so from a me purchasing standpoint.
Right. Yeah, but you know those
Rob's
LA
successful.
galleries. You know those LA galleries, dude.
Yeah.
I always cut Kyle a rate. He falls into the fucking ultra backer category. Not much of a rate, but a rate. But it's the goal, man. And look, I might find that there's only a way to sell them for $500, $600, but even then, so what? That's definitely a step up from the $10 ones I did, 6 years ago. But I've seen people sell 20 by 30 paintings for $500 and put far less effort in. So, pretty certain. Pretty certain I can get away with it.
I was looking at the guest list for WonderCon, and I noticed Sean Galloway, which you've
Mm-hmm.
mentioned him quite a few times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Are you a fan of his? You like his stuff?
Yeah, I'm more of a fan of his older art than his
Okay.
current Disney thing. I think that's what it is. His art's it's a little Disney-fied for me. Like his older stuff had more of a street feel. But he's a fantastic artist. I'm not going to say that. Just I sort of like the. I think he was complaining about some stuff, and I'm like, well, that stuff. You know, I like the street style. I like to have everything have a little edge. You know, so. But he's a good artist.
All right. I saw the name. I'm like, hey, I recall Rob mentioning him before. I couldn't remember the context though. I'll go check out his stuff when I'm there.
Yeah, they were all on Shangline's sketchboard sessions back in the day. Him, all the Lead Heavy guys. He's part of Lead Heavy initially, and
Brandon's crew.
no, the thing Brandon named himself after is Scotty Young's old side. It was a collection of guys. So it was Mark Brooks, Scotty Young, Sean Galloway, um, John Boy. And they all like
Okay.
formed a little group to help, a support group basically to help get themselves in. On that board though was a lot of people that have gone places like Sean Gordon Murphy when he was just Sean Murphy on the board. First posted his initial stuff. He did Batman test pages and this Han Solo little short story thing that ended up in Dark Horse. It's where Han Solo finds the remains of Indiana Jones. And a good look even then at the time. I was like, that guy's got a future. He's an amazing storyteller. You know, all the people I picked, one. Who went nowhere? Yours truly. It's like I'm just now. It's like funny, You're like, damn it, all those guys went somewhere. That was the place to hang out.
It's like the other people in film school with like George Lucas and Coppola.
Mm-hmm.
They're like,
Yeah.
hey, I was part of that crew.
Yeah, Maddie Nobody in the back over there. You know? Okay, let me open up I keep all my flats in a PureRef file now, so I can color select. Load. Coloring flats. And then I need to open up my Sonic. I made Asian pork ribs, man. What do you think's been holding me back all
How'd
these
those turn
years?
out?
My fucking shitty career, Ash. It's not that I haven't been trying. God damn. You know? Every time I fucking get a goddamn job, the whole fucking industry goes stupid. You know? Every time I work on something, it gets shelved. It's just ridiculous. I sell books to Image and the writer never shows up. I fucking do a bunch of gaming graphic novels and the fucking industry, the recession hits and wipes out the company and all my work gets fucking deleted, you know? Just ridiculous. You know? I do a Kickstarter that ends up costing me my career, and then the guy fucking that was helping me fix it steals all my money and puts me 20 grand in the hole. You know? It's fucking weird, dude. Like, it's just weird. So weird, Kyle. I have to
And
look at
that,
the pot.
Ash, is why I'll never let Rob work on one of my projects.
Goddamn right. I told you, I just want to drive the golf cart. I can't fuck nothing up that way. Yeah, I would have definitely called it quits, you know? Just thing after thing after thing after thing after thing after. Sometimes you just look at it, you're like, this has to be. This can't be normal, right? This can't. This has to be fucking weird. So here's the thing, though, right? Here's the weird thing about it, you know, is that you get to the point where all this shit doesn't go the way you want it to. But through that, I decided to fucking go, well, you know, got to keep moving forward. So then I create the power prints with the new one and then all these crazy stretch goals, which I admit I took too many. Uh, um, but I used each one. I had this belief, you know, if I just fucking put everything I have into each one and I continue to make these processes more repeatable and not like luck, and I really understand lighting and I really understand rendering, and I fucking put everything on YouTube and stream everything, you know, and then I take these samples. Every time I do these, I've been sending them to publishers, sending them to publishers, sending them to publishers until one of them bit, you know, and then I end up on something that, you know, I'm looking forward to doing. And then I'm fucking, you've seen it, Kyle. I'm putting everything I have into this current shit, you know? So hopefully, you know, I can make the career, you know. Again, I can build career 2.0, you know. But
I sometimes think that I must have had a past life where I was a extremely successful, terrible person, as like Adolf Hitler. That went
yeah, we've
right,
all
right to
thought
tree.
that. But, you know, I think at the end of
Like
the day,
now, karma's catching up with me.
yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's just for some people to have something one way, other people have to have it another. You know, like it's just the question is, what can you do to stop that? So I've had to fucking just eliminate anything that is going to cause me trouble. You know, and Brandon's high on that list. You know, if you want to know. Yeah, which is fine. I mean, he just goes to a guy I bring on to talk about art. You know, but I don't know, man. You know, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? I want to do covers. I'm going to focus on that and make my own comics. You know, the only thing I have to do in between that is get through these fucking power prints. So I use the power prints to help me get the cover work. The Final Fantasy VII, dude, that one right there is what got me this current gig.
Oh wow!
You know, so yeah, because I looked at it and went, "Holy shit!" You know, I think that you know, can you know, because before then, for some reason, they just thought all I could because all I ever did was fucking kid shit. They thought that's all I could do. I'm like, you guys know that's not what I came to you for. You know, but people will pigeonhole you. Companies will pigeonhole you. So, but you got to continually throw your shit at them. You can't just be like, oh, they follow my Twitter. They'll see what I'm doing. You know, they don't care. They're going through their animation career, right? Yeah. So, let me turn that texture coloration off. It's throwing me off a little bit. Um, but I couldn't get to that Final Fantasy VII without all the other ones, right? And look at the GTA one I just did, where I was like, you know, I think I could color this better. Weird, right? And then when I did it, I'm like, this is a game changer. Hmm. I knew that, you know. I didn't need anyone else to tell me that. So, and the game cave thing and doing my own comics are a game changer. Not maybe not that particular story, that particular thing, but I don't know, Kyle. You know, I'm kind of a clever story dude. I like to think, you know. So if I just keep pushing at it, maybe I can end up with something like a mouse guard, you know. And I don't care if whatever I'm coming up with is bankable now in Hollywood. That's the one thing I'm not going to do is sit around going, I'm going to make something that this will work as a movie. It's going to be called, you know, Cave, you know, one word, you know, like, you know, and it's like this that meets that. And it, you know, I imagine James Earl Jones would play Bombcat, I mean, whatever, you know. Like,
Well, you gotta cast Nick Cave if you're gonna call it that.
yeah, Nick Cave.
Get him to do the soundtrack, you know. Maybe. Oh, you get Nick Cage to do one of the voices, and Nick Cave can do the soundtrack. There we go. Box office gold.
Lefty says he showed my Final Fantasy VII and his friend says I don't like the style. Yeah, well, that's the minute you start doing things that are a little bit original, someone's going to hate it. That's when you know. What I don't want, is to make things that look like. I just want to make things until I'm happy. I trust my opinion. That the people who I think would like that sort of stuff will fall on board, and some people just will hate it, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But I'm not going to sit here and go, who's big right now? Sean Gordon Murphy. I'm going to ink and do all my work just like Sean Gordon. Like, no, man, I don't give a shit. I love his work. I'll buy any fucking thing that guy makes. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be someone else. I'm not going to go and fucking draw like Capullo's Batman because I want to draw Batman. So now I'm going to draw like Capullo's Batman because that's the most popular Batman. No. Not doing it. Not doing it, Sam, I am. I was thinking, so Baby Driver's over at Sony, right? It's a Sony film.
Okay.
Edgar Wright's new movie. What if they got Edgar Wright to do the Venom? Do you then go, well, guess I'm on board?
I mean, I'm on board pretty much anything Edgar Wright does.
See? A lot of people don't like, but because he has a unique vision, right? It's a breath of fresh air. And I appreciate it, Lefty. And that's, you can't, if you do something where you're like, hey, I want to make drips, and someone's like, I fucking hate drips, then you kind of can't count their opinion, because it's not who I'm appealing to. If I was to go make a Star Wars movie and Star Wars fans are telling me like, hey, this fucking shit's ridiculous, you gotta listen, you know? But if someone goes, I don't even like Star Wars, and I'm like, well, then it's like game reviews. You ever see a game review where someone's like, I hate role-playing games, and they're reviewing Final Fantasy VII? And you're like, why are you the person on this again? Used to happen
Yeah.
all the time, bro, I'm not saying only fans can review things, but if you're gone in with like, I don't even like this, then, you're not the person I'm shooting for. I don't like it when they take turns and I take a turn and you take a turn. Like chess? No, I don't like this shit. So we're going to make all the role-playing games so they never do that ever again. That's great. And eliminate a whole fucking genre because some assholes who really love to play Halo decided to turn Final Fantasy into fucking something it ain't. I loved those covers to PlayStation Magazine back in the day. I collected every one of them. They meant the world. I mean, even in the army, like that was my fucking. Like, as soon as they can get to the fucking PX and get a game magazine that had a cool fucking Joe Mad cover, or Travis Charis or Chris Pacciallo, Art Adams, any one of them, I'd fucking just come back and I loved it. So when I think of cover art, that's what I'm making. I'm not copying anything they did. I'm not even drawing like any particular one of them. I have my own way of doing it, but that's the mood I am invoking with my work. And some people will hate it. The great part about it is in this economy, all styles can exist simultaneously. You got Transformers comics over at IDW that are drawn super realistically, and then you got some that look like the old Marvel comics, right? With halftones and the weird, the giant chunky black inks and the limited color palettes. So all styles exist simultaneously at this point.
It's the multiverse, man.
Hey, and so at this point, retailers hate it because salespeople don't know what to do now. Well, which way is it going? I'm like, it's going everywhere simultaneously. Just deal with it, you know? Figure out make each thing that it's supposed to be the best version of that thing you're trying to do. So, and I'll just keep attracting, hopefully, the people who are fans of this stuff. They'll, you know, they'll find me, you know? Sounds stupid, but, it's funny.
If you draw it, they will come.
Don't say that, because, they have potty minds, you know? It's not good, Kyle.
Not now that you put it that way.
Yeah, see what happens? No one can watch Star Wars now without snickering. Look at the size of that thing. It gets ridiculous. Joe Mad's Final Fantasy APs. Yeah. I just love that vibe. And game magazines stopped doing art. And the minute they started, PR companies got involved, and then they became giant CG renders. And Dave was the only one making custom art covers. That's why when I was at this con, and the guy said, "Hey, would you ever think about doing something for Play?" I'm like, "Fuck, hell yeah!" And I translated that into a career that lasted 2 or 3 years before the recession. You know, the Sonic's got a ways to go, my friend. Ways to go.
Destiny, the video game, brought you here, or Destiny, as in the universe is predetermined that you should be here?
What are you talking about? Oh,
Lefty
Destiny.
said Destiny brought him here. I didn't know if you meant the video
Fate.
game and he found art.
Fate is what we
or-
make of it, man.
Yeah.
The future's not set. So, I'm just not gonna fucking die and not have fucking the shit I want made. I'm just not doing it. I'm not gonna sit here and draw like Spider-Man, like all super realistic. You know. I can. All right, so let's take Knuckles and fill him in. Turn the texture off so I don't select any of it.
Have you played more of your Zelda ever since?
Yeah,
the,
I try to play right before I go to
upside
sleep.
down game.
No,
thing?
no, not since the upside down debacle. Tried to play last night, but I was up drawing and I almost finished the second cover line art. I still had an hour. I think it only took me an hour once I got up, but I would have been there for 3 more if I hadn't gone to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So I finished that, scanned it in, sent off a high-res copy, and then I'll do the flats later tonight or tomorrow. Probably later tonight after I do these flats. Always been going back and forth on the front. Want to be house and realism. I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't tell people what to do with their art. You gotta figure out what you want to do and then see if you can get paid to do it. Be willing to, understand like some studios just will never go for certain things. Cool thing about IDW is, man, they allow for a lot of different style. They put a lot of different looks out there.
Yeah, we have to go down to the IDW museum or whatever they call it in next couple of weeks, I think.
Nice.
Because Kevin Eastman was just hanging out with Stan Sakai, stole a bunch of Stan's art. They're gonna do a Usagi Ojimbo gallery
Nice.
for a month, so I have to go check that out.
Yeah, they gotta keep. That was part of the deal. They got a cool deal with the military because those are converted barracks. So the deal they got, they're like, yeah, we do these art shows and stuff, give back. So they do a lot of cool things down there.
Yeah, I stopped by last year when I went to Comic-Con. They had the Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles art up. That Freddie Williams had done.
Nice. There's this Italian restaurant over by there too. Down the way, walk it. They got a good tiramisu. The way I think about it isn't realism or unrealistic. The way I think about it now is I make my art look like toys. And some toys are just super detailed, like hot toys. Some toys are a little less. But I make my stuff like toys. It's cheaper than buying toys. Yeah, I'm not going to throw plushies in. If I drew, let's see what would be something. Like if I was going to do a Batman cover for DC, I wouldn't be throwing plushies around. Unless it was like Harley Quinn or something. But I would add a cool action figure like quality to it. Like the McFarlane toys. Heads are so they can't stand. It's hilarious. Oops.
Never had any of the Sonic toys.
Hmm. Hmm. I need a slightly different red. Or maybe I don't. Just keep that red. I don't like. I gotta load this fucking ref images. Load Sonic Fighter. Let them fight. Okay, I see what that's supposed to be. Never mind.
Did Sonic Fighter have finishing moves where you could like tear people's
No,
hearts out? And
that wasn't that kind of game. It was the Virtual Fighter 2 engine, or the Virtual Fighter engine, sorry. So it was just kind of a basic game. I'd always wish they made a sequel using the Power Stone engine. Power Stone was like, you have these 3D arenas, right? And you could take the characters and run around in them. So it was multiplayer. It's kind of a precursor to Smash Bros., but it was three-dimensional. These little arenas, and they would have platforms on there, so they'd be themed. It was a pretty fun game, good party game. You know, would have made great sense for like a Sonic Fighter, but this one was like these giant polygonal characters in a ring where you got to punch one another, and it's like doesn't quite translate as well as like you would think. You know.
hmm.
That's why they didn't do a home release. They initially put it part of like a collection on the GameCube and the PS2 because it's not that deep a game to be charging full price for. And then they put it on Xbox Live Arcade eventually. I just wish they'd make more Power Stone. I really can't stand the new look of the Marvel Infinite. I hate the generic CG looking character design in that game, man. Cannot stand it. It it looks bad to me. Just not my thing, man. I like art. I make art until somebody dies. For me, I wish Marvel Infinite looked more like Guilty Gear Xrd, or how about any other Marvel vs. Capcom game? But you know, you pick and choose your battles, Kyle. Yeah, I thought the Marvel 3 art. So I didn't like the Bada Boom font. They used a free fucking font, assholes. You know, Bada Boom, because it's comic booky. No comic book looks like that. Stupid. So you spend some money. You know, let them design you a custom font. It's like the kerning was all like generic too. You know, doesn't. It's like really, guys, really.
Where would you design a custom font where you could just use papyrus? Or
Hey, you know, man, that's my only, other than Michelle Rodriguez, the only complaint I have about Avatar is that the font at the end is just papyrus. So I figured, look, if that font's good enough for Jim Cameron, who am I to complain, you know? You don't like the movie Pocahontas. Ah, shut up. $2 billion, you know? Didn't just magically cough that out from nowhere. Did you see Beauty and the Beast made another 88 million this weekend?
yeah,
I didn't help it.
either.
It's not me, guys. I didn't do that.
So when every single cartoon gets a live action remake, it's your people's fault that went to this movie.
It's not a remake that bugs me. It's okay, like they made Jungle Book. Wasn't really a remake of the cartoon, you
No,
know? But it was a remake of Lion King. So what are they doing with Lion King? You know,
they're
the
gonna remake
the
Toy
Jungle Book,
Story
huh?
as Lion King.
Right? Another reason. Let them overhaul it. I think they look way better. Yeah. I wish it looked like Bangus's art. I mean, I like the Street Fighter V engine. I like it. You know, I don't have a problem with it, but let it look. I just wish Marvel vs. Capcom looked like Marvel superheroes in 3D, which is Guilty Gear Xrd. But you know, whatever. I've been watching Seinfeld again from the beginning, And the more I watch it, I just love watching what they're doing in the background. There's just so much shit going on that you just don't pick up on if you. So many little things.
Where do you watch that?
Where? I have them all.
Okay.
I ripped them, made my own files, and then I fixed the ending. So I don't have to suffer through the shitty last 2 episodes.
Did you just delete them?
I deleted the last 2, the recap episode, which was pointless, and then the actual episode, I deleted that. And then in the last season, there's an episode where they go to India and the whole show goes backwards. It goes 5 minutes earlier, an hour earlier, 2 days earlier. It all goes backwards all the way to where Jerry first moves into his apartment and meets Kramer. That becomes the last episode. So I renumbered it so it loops back in on itself. Uh-huh.
Nice.
Yeah. And you want to know what's great about it? Is it's a finale about nothing. Seems about right. And you get all the recap stuff. You see Susan, you see everybody. There aren't enough people to do sprites anymore. That's what happened to the Guilty Gear guys. They said there just isn't the. When they went to go do the Street Fighter Ultra remake, there just aren't enough people anymore that can do that anymore. So, yeah, it's not horrible, but it's just compared to what was going on in that season, it's weak sauce. I watch Seinfeld all the time. There's shows that just completely loop series because I can eat. When I'm in between things I don't want to get too caught up on, I put on. I've watched Friends and I just stopped watching Friends when Joey and Rachel become a thing. I'm like, this is pointless. There's some nifty things here and there, but it's pointless. There's no real way to fix that. But the Seinfeld thing I fixed. Just because they already did the recap episode in this episode, they go backwards. Problem is, Larry David wasn't a part of the show at the time, so then he came back, and I don't know. Just wasn't really in sync. All right, so save that. And then let's get Sonic's controller squared away. I mean, I feel happy that I can fix it. I can't do a fucking thing about the finale to Quantum Leap. You useless.
I haven't seen the finale to Quantum Leap since it was on TV originally.
Yeah, pointless. That's what it is, Kyle. I actually thought the finale to MacGyver was alright.
I mean, I was only 12 or 13 at the time Quantum Leap ended, but I remember liking the ending. That it was like sort of ambiguous, like, well, he just keeps going.
No, it's not ambiguous. It says he never goes home.
Well,
it's a complete opposite of ambiguous, dog. It looks like it's ambiguous, and then they derail and go, nope, you never went home again, motherfucker. Like.
Well, that I guess what I meant by ambiguous is that they're like, well, just kind of goes on, and you can just imagine what happens.
No.
He just keeps sleeping in other bodies, but we're not telling those stories.
Yeah. No.
Did you want him to go home? You wanted closure?
I wanted something. What we got was, I don't even know what the fucking episode was about. I was like, is this Defending Your Life? Like, did they just go see Defending Your Life? It's like the ending of Deep Space Nine. It's like, really? Really? Well, you know, someday we'll be in the movies. No, that's never going to happen.
I don't remember how MacGyver ended.
Met his kid, man.
Hmm?
He met his kid. Then they teamed up at the end. Found out he had a kid. Then they teamed up. And the kid was like looking for the Holy Grail. He's like, I saw the movie. Indiana Jones did it. uh, yeah, the ending of Deep Space Nine was like fucking mother. You know, because they knew they were never gonna fucking resolve it. You know, just no lies, all lies. It's like they
Next
had a
gen.
huh?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say they had a perfectly fine ending to Kirk, and then they had to go fucking do that movie. You know, so stupid.
I think Next Generation had a good ending.
What was that ending? Where they go back and look at amoebas?
Yes,
Yeah,
it
remember?
wrapped up how the whole thing kickstarted with Q, and
Primordial soup.
they wrap it up with Q.
Yeah, I remember him and Q looking at amoebas, and I'm like, this is wonderful. Richard Dean Anderson. Dun 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 DMCA. Right? See how that works?
Yeah,
Oh, the algorithm got me.
it's all about the algorithm, man.
Hmm.
Yeah, right before I hopped on the stream here, I was watching some Star Trek: The Next Generation. It's one of the less good episodes.
Don't worry. Data hangs out with his cat.
Uh, that stuff's great.
You're out of your mind. C
With
spot.
Spot,
Yeah, spot.
I like it when he writes poetry.
Yeah. Mm. Where are those stupid stones? Chaos emeralds. Where are they? I have them in my file somewhere.
You lost your Chaos Emeralds?
Put them in this file. I'm like, this is a lot of images. I'm like, I don't know where the fuck. They should be in the game part, but they aren't. This makes you wonder, did I not save it when I put them in? It's possible. Oh, there they are. Okay, I need to move those over to the video game screens. Alright. Gems.
Have you seen a TV show, Rob, that you're just like, right, that ended just how it should have?
Breaking Bad.
Okay.
See, you're not gonna argue.
No.
Oh.
It ended exactly how I thought it should have.
Yeah. The only complaint I have about Breaking Bad is I don't believe all that happened in 2 years. Like, that's the part I'm like, really, Vince? You know, really? I don't believe that. Other than that, I'm happy. Then you're gonna be like, is there another show that had a great ending? Can I think what other show other than Breaking Bad had a great ending? Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Definitely not Lost.
Hmm. I was fine with Lost. I'm in the opposite category. Um, it's controversial, but I'm fine with it.
I guess the ending didn't bother me so much as the promise that there would be answers at some point, and there never were.
What answers did you want?
What is the island? Where did the polar bears come from? What is the
They came
black
from the zoo.
smoke monster?
There's a zoo. The polar bears were on the zoo and got loose.
What zoo was that?
The zoo that they were in the cages. They were part of that had a zoo.
Yeah, why?
They were probably testing the effects of time and time distortion on different animals.
That's not an answer. That's a guess.
Hmm?
That's just
No, it's
a random
pretty.
guess.
Huh? I don't know about that.
What was the island?
It was a place that existed inside and outside of time. So it was kind of like the Bermuda Triangle. Weird shit can happen there. And there was government experiments that were happening there. In the end, they tried to do, in the 70s, they tried to do some kind of commune like fucking crazy thing there. And there was mutiny. And these people sort of got stranded there and had to unravel that. Eventually left and then came back. And then eventually in life, whenever they died, in purgatory, they eventually all found one another because the best time they were alive was when they were together. There,
Was it
solved.
wait? So was it purgatory or was it just a
Purgatory.
weird
It
Bermuda
was
Triangle
purgatory.
time thing?
No, that is purgatory. And then as each one in the real life they're passing, they eventually meet. They're all waiting to go into the next life together. Some people decide to stay in purgatory. Some people decide not to. It wasn't that hard. It's not like they played Jimi Hendrix and all got high and wondered if they were Cylons or humans for
Are you
18
sure?
episodes. I just, you know. Kyle. What else had a good ending? It's a good question. Not a lot do. Well, I mean, okay, I can think of some great anime that had endings, but TV shows.
I haven't watched it yet, but I heard The Wire's really good, like all the way through.
If I could make a bet. I think I know what's going to be good.
What's that?
Fargo. I don't see them screwing that up anytime soon.
Hopefully not.
All right.
Hopefully, Better Call Saul is another one.
Yeah, different format than Breaking Bad. I can't relate the two, right? But I
No.
enjoy it. But it definitely has a different pace, and it almost feels like you're seeing them trying to work out like, what the hell are we doing with this thing, you know? So if it didn't already feature characters that I already liked, I don't know if I'd stick with it as well as I have. But you know, it's not the most compelling story. Most viewers don't know when to end themselves. That's right. Yeah, most shows should stop after 4. I enjoyed the ending of Buffy. I thought it ended really well, but that's contentious to people.
Seasons 5 and 6 were pretty bad.
Except, well, season
7
5
got
to
good
me could
again.
have been the ending. I would have been just fine. It ended perfectly. Great villain. She saved the world a lot. That could have been the ending of the series for me, and I almost believe that they thought it might be with the way that deal was working out at the time. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But 6, I would say 6 is dark, bro. But 6 gives us the musical episode and the death of their mother, which was probably the best, most realistic death ever handled on screen. The way all that went down. But that's a tough season. And it gives us the Nerds of Doom, which are great up until fuck all happens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I drew too many gems.
How many are there supposed to be?
6. I drew 7. I wonder why I did that.
Maybe you've unlocked the mythical 7th gem.
No, we just knock it out. Boom! Look at that shit. Yay, masks. I had to gave up on the Flash. Can't do it. Can't do it no more. Just decided
I
the show's probably not for me.
didn't start it yet.
It's got a lot of love, man, but it's this problem I have with the whole, oh, my life is perfect and I don't know, man. You know, just, okay, your life's so perfect. I'm sorry, you don't know what to do with it. Same with Supergirl. I was like, oh, my life is so perfect. It's just, I have the perfect this and the perfect, like, fuck you. I want to get back to Daredevil and just watch him get the shit kicked out of him, you know? Get the shit kicked out of you for an hour. There are some. Why am I counting 6 though? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Counting 6. Now we got to go find out. Sonic Chaos Gems. It can't be in Sonic Adventure. It has to be up until it's Chaos Emeralds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See? There's a turquoise one. I knew it. Why does this one only have 6? In Sonic 2 there were 6. When did the Chaos Emeralds start? So we gotta do Sonic and Knuckles. Let's do up to here. Okay, so I'll do a teal one. Alright. I hear ya, but I grabbed this from Sonic 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you explain that to me. But I guess my
Speaking of,
mind drew 7 because, that's how I roll. I guess I knew. The subconscious was like, no, it's stupid.
as I say, speaking of 6, 6 Feet Under, great ending.
Never gonna get me to watch it.
Well, it ends just how it should.
Well, I drew 7, so there you go. This one will be hidden behind the logo. Hidden. Hidden chaos. They're gonna be the only 6. Nope. Nope. Watch. Boom. Logo gone. Oh shit. Yeah, I can't wait for the diehards to try to get me on that one. They're gonna fall right in my trap. Right into my trap, Kyle.
You should put Admiral Akbar back behind the logo too.
The best is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. That's the one that pays off. Brilliant. Absolutely fucking brilliant. I didn't think it was a cop-out. It's equivalent exchange, dog. Do, 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 do. There was a reward for his sacrifice. You're just a heartless bastard. Take my fans and just throw them right under the bus. You don't get it. Do, 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 do.
I mean, I think you'd be really hard pressed though to beat the series ending to He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Did you look something up? Because you don't remember this. You can't possibly
Uh,
remember this. You looked it up, right?
I didn't even know how many seasons there were.
Yeah,
There
but you
were
looked
only
it up.
two.
You were like bad seasons to cartoons, and so, am I correct?
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't look
You
that
didn't.
up. I was just like,
You remember it?
nope.
Okay. Now, how did you figure that one out? Or just saying it?
I just He-Man popped into my head for
Oh,
some
okay.
reason.
All right.
'Cause I was a huge He-Man fan when I was a kid.
Those things never
But then
ended.
as
They just stopped. You know what I
okay,
mean? They just stopped making them. It's not like there was an ending. Kind of like the Batman animated series just stopped. Sad, but you know.
hmm man, they put out a lot of episodes per season back then.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's 2 seasons long, but they made 130 episodes.
Yeah, well, the animation wasn't exactly. You know, as standards rise, you know.
Still, it's just a lot of episodes.
Here's my problem with Justice League Unlimited. I will never, and I love Bruce Timm, truly, man, but I can never forgive them for what they did to Terry McGinnis. Can't do it. Can't do it. Can't believe they fucking went and did that bullshit. Fucking origin. I cannot stand Fate. He was his destiny. You know, he's a clone of Bruce Wayne. Can't do it, guys. Can't do it. Can't do it. It's like Spider-Man being a clone. Yeah, can't deal with it. That's bullshit. Sorry. Sorry. Can't handle that. Wait, it just ruined everything for me. Can't deal with it. Well, they got his DNA and then they gave it to someone, and then Sharon, fucking what's her face from the Suicide Squad, went and found the right people to. Just can't. It's too much, guys. Just can't deal. It's can't. Can't. Just want to just put my head through a wall.
Can't, Rob, or you just won't.
Both. Both. I accept they came up with it, and I reject it too. Just like the prequels, I reject it. I'll never watch it again. I love the first Matrix, but those two movies ruin life. They ruin things for me. You know, they make it very difficult. You know, I can't stand that stuff. It's like, you know, Spider Peter Parker was meant to be this, and the spider was specifically put in that one spot. You know, I can't do it, Kyle. Can't. You know, I start to lose my shit.
You're
Goes
like,
against.
why can't it just be happenstance?
No, it all has to mean something. I can't. I've only seen one. I mean, take a calm breath, right? Take a deep breath through the nose, out the mouth. You know, you just realize it doesn't matter. It's not important. You know?
Yeah.
I have Return of the Joker. I can just pretend that this shit never existed.
We can move on to discussing something that you really like, such as how about them Las Vegas Raiders? Yeah?
I find it all funny, man. I was hoping both the Chargers and the Raiders would go to Las Vegas. Yeah, the Speed Force chose Barry. Can't stand that stuff, you know? Things happen and people made decisions, and sometimes they're good decisions and sometimes they're bad. I cannot fucking. The lightning bolt was specifically placed there. You know, it just ruins stuff, man. It's not my idea of a good time.
Just takes it from being like this exciting thing where anything can happen to, oh, the only things that happen are ones that are calculated and
Which is unlike life. Nothing's
yeah.
calculated in life. Man, you ever want to read a good story that's true? You know? Just go read about that time during World War II when uh, Churchill and FDR went over to Russia and had this dinner with Stalin. You know? How they were going to cut up, how they got to deal with the remainder of the war, and then all. Just go read that, you know? And how that fucking dinner basically shaped the entire world for the next 45 years. You know? And no one knew what they were doing. They didn't even know they were having the same conversation at that fucking meal. You know? Stalin didn't know a fucking giant nuclear bomb was coming. You know? We didn't know the Russians were playing some giant psychological warfare game. Just it's a whole thing, man. Like it's just not all planned out. Edu- uh, I know they just coughed up 700 million, but no education. Hey, man. Glad to see them leave San Diego. Englewood Chargers. Can't wait. Can't wait. You know, if my dad didn't die of a heart attack or stroke or whatever killed him, fucking this Chargers thing, that would have done it.
The Inglewood Chargers.
Yeah, I love it. The Englewood Chargers, man.
I hope that's what they call them
I hope so
instead of
too.
the LA Chargers.
Yeah, I want the Englewood Chargers, you know? Go Englewood. Pap, 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 pap. They'll finally be harder than the fucking Raiders. You know? I could just see River Phelps doing real wood in Englewood. You know? He'll be like that scene. The bullet shows Batman's parents. You're a fucking genius, Lefty. We need to make that video, Kyle. Do you want to do a fan film? The bullet shows Batman's parents because it knew one day. There's probably a way you could sort of cut it to like the opening to Lord of War, you know, with the bullet being manufactured. It's kind of like this, right? The original opening to Groundhog Day featured a witch that hexed Bill Murray. True story. And they're like, you know, just doesn't need it. Doesn't we don't really need to know why all that should happen. Kind of ruins it.
Just because the groundhog chose Bill. It's his destiny.
Because when people go to Vegas, they want to go to more football. I just don't think they. And you can't. What's great is you still can't gamble on it. So you know, just don't know. Just don't know what they're thinking. Maybe they'll take all those homes that were built out there. Yeah, which would have been too much. It's just it is totally fucking unnecessary. But oh yeah, go look that one up. It was like he gypped some chick, and it turned out she was a witch. She put a hex on him. Pointless. I don't like these stars. I don't like the color I chose.
Which one, Ash? The animated movie? The live action movie? The live action television show? The old, was it French movie or whatever?
The French movie is what? What was it? I want to say the initial Haunted Mansion. A lot of that design. Or was it Drag? I can't fucking remember. There's some influence. Some nifty piece of trivia I can't fucking remember anymore. My brain's being just filled up with. You want to know what's ridiculous? I don't eat fucking bullshit candy. Haven't for years. So I was with my wife and I was like talking about this some things she made. And I said it's kind of like that almond joy, but without the almonds. She goes, "What is that called?" I'm like, "Mounds." Why do I know this? You know, like, why do I know that, Kyle? I shouldn't know that.
There's lots of things you know that you shouldn't know.
You know, I don't want to know this stuff. I want to be able to give up some of that stuff to make room for other shit. You know? I'm getting gypped here. The witch. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah, the one from the 30s is 20s. I think it was from the 20s.
30s.
30s? Yeah, it definitely influenced the Haunted Mansion. Like with the candlelight stick and shit like that. There was just stuff.
Oh, 40s.
40s.
1946.
Les Saint-Sebel. I haven't seen it since high school, but we watched it in high school. It was cool. I mean, you know, the fuzzy faces, you know, time.
Well, I think it's that time for me to go to sleep. So I can wake
Sucker.
up and do some awesome work.
Sucker. Sleep is for suckers.
Yep. I'm the biggest sucker of them all then.
Thanks, Kyle.
'Cause I love my sleep.
I'm glad you saw it my way. Alrighty, well, thanks for hanging out.
No problem. Enjoy working on the Sonics.
Shut up. Later.
Later.
Yeah, it's not my thing. I enjoy the animation and the design of it. So, but, they made a good film and glad people are enjoying it. If only they could make a good Turtles movie. The bullet chose his parents. It's hilarious. I want to see that fan film now where the bullet chooses his parents. No, I love the original Turtles movie. But that's it. It starts and stops there. I still think you could do like a Netflix show with Man in Suit. You know, make it like Daredevil and the Raid. Do one turtle per fucking episode. Like split them all up and then have them come together. Like it's City at War and they're at different parts of the city when the foot attack and the gang fucking shit goes down. And they're all like one's with Casey, one's with April, one's with Splinter, and one's stuck on his own like Leo, you know? And then for the fourth episode they finally get together, you know? Well, that's how Splinter learned in the comics. He learned in his cage. Say what you want, that's how it happened. Yeah. I don't mind it being a little campy, as long as it's within the comic campy. It's when it's, you know, pervy, weird shit. Or, you know, they're ninjas, but they're running around proton packs and chakra beads. Like, they're ninjas. How you figure? Do, 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 do. Didn't really care for that part. The cartoon was okay, but as a kid I was way into the comic. You know, I liked the arcade game. The arcade game was based off the cartoon. I didn't hate it, but I really preferred just the comic when I was a kid. Still do. I like some of the characters. Like I think Bebop and Rossy are pretty cool characters, you know. And the Dimension X stuff is interesting, just in that they always went to different dimensions in space, like Triceratons and shit. But the EPROMs were what created them, so there's obviously some joint, you know, the best version of both universes. But I would start it with ground floor shit, man. You know, like you go all cosmic at a million fucking monsters. It's stupid. You know, you want to send them off on a space adventure in season two, where they, you know, just like they in the original comics, where they find TCRI, break in, and end up stuck on another planet. I get it. And if you want to bring one back, and that one happens to be an evil dude named Krang, and you want to move that way into like a movie style fucking thing, I get it. But it needs some ground level shit. You know, you got to get the ninja and the fucking brotherly family shit down first, which they don't have. They don't have it. They've lost that. Stop throwing in fucking. And the design of them is ridiculous. And then Crank can be how you get Bebop Rocksteady, you can get Leatherface. You know, I get it, but whatevs. I'm not sitting in those meetings, right? So, yeah. Alrighty. Hmm, that's weird. I just think it all goes back down to formula. I told you what I would do. You know, it needs to be about them uniting as a family. You know, if they wanted to have all that shit on them, and at the end they strip all that off to become ninjas, you know, like their personalities are keeping them from being a united team. They're individual conflicting personalities. There's no growth, no change, you know. And you know, you don't make April some supermodel, you know. She could be a girl who grew up wanting to be a reporter, and that went away because of the internet. And maybe she has like a YouTube channel where she investigates paranormal weird shit, kind of like Art Bell used to, you know. She talks about, you know, the Dimension X, you know, which is this planet, you know, that is, you know, revolving around the universe like Planet X, right? She could talk. She could do all those conspiracy theories and the the shadow world, you know, and the secret corporations. You know, I would have had the Oroku Saki Corporation would have been like Sony Corporation. It's this giant, you know, global corporation, and they're also led by, you know, the Foot, right? They've been around a long time. It's not hard, bro. It's a rich fucking universe. that really just lends it to sitting in a room, you know. But the character's got to be one way and end up another, and that just doesn't happen in the movies. And they're, ninja magic is what I would have brought into it. No, not AK-47s. The foot don't need AK-47s. I would have put more Big Trouble in Little China in it and less fucking Batman Begins. Yeah. So she needed to be more like an Allison Hannigan or the Wendy's girl, you know? She needed to be a little bit more of a dork. Like Will Arnett is not a nerd. Will Arnett should have been Casey Jones. He could be like doing Uber and shit, you know? He scans the fucking police van radios and stuff. I just don't think it's that hard, man. Just like making Punisher ain't that hard. They just have no interest in doing Punisher right. Well, now they do on Netflix, but movies before. This is a problem. Window. So I gotta adjust some color settings here. My monitor changed. Where's my history window? So let me take this and let me duplicate. There. That's better. It was over contrasting on my other monitor. I don't know what the fuck happened. I wasn't seeing the colors I was supposed to see. How do I like the original Transformers movie? I thought the animation was brilliant until Optimus Prime died and then they ran out of money. And I thought it was bullshit that all these Transformers that we followed. When I was a kid, I felt this too. When all these Transformers, like Ironhide, these guys that managed to survive battle after battle, to stand there and get shot on the way from Cybertron to Earth that's just, if they all died in the battle where the Decepticons attacked on Autobot City, I get it. But when they just stand there and get shot, I was like, horse crap. But you can definitely tell when they ran out of money. I don't mind them adding the new Transformers and stuff. You know? They just stand there and get shot. You ever think about screenwriting? Yeah, I gotta write my own comics. You know who doesn't like listening to me? Screenwriters. I've worked with a couple in comics, like actual Hollywood screenwriters. They hate when I hear this shit. But they go, I've gotten, even Kevin Grievous has given me points. He's like, man, makes a lot of sense. Like, why don't you do it? Well, what would you do? I would do this. He doesn't like to pay though, So, but I can draw, right? So, better to draw than write. Do, do, do. I'm not saying that the Autobots couldn't die, bro. I'm saying that they just stand there and get killed in the first 3 minutes. You know? It's just ridiculous. They just stand there. I'm like, really? There's a more compelling way we can do this. Well, budget. Well, then there you go. You know? It's sad. And look, in the ideal world, which would never happen, but in the ideal world, if you could plan it better, you'd have it where Optimus and Megatron die. You don't get Galvatron, right? You get Starscream versus the new Autobots and the new team being hunted down using Galvatron. Unicron. They defeat Unicron, but the remnants of the Unicron transforms Megatron, and then eventually so you can go and do the TV series at the end, and then you do a sequel to the movie where they bring back Optimus Prime, right? So you kill Optimus Prime in the first movie about the inciting incident, around the 10 to 15 minute mark. And then in the sequel, you bring back Optimus Prime. Like you give, Rodimus Prime a season of fucking cartoon to fuck up or make the wrong decisions or something or go in over his head or something. Scarably is a terrible, right? So it goes to shit, and then you bring up some new fucking guy or something. But they kill everyone. They bring back Megatron as Galvatron, and then Optimus Prime doesn't. I don't know. Maybe Galvatron's a new character. That'd be fine with that too. Not against the character of Galvatron. It's just they just transform all the Decepticons into different characters. So, then he basically becomes Soul Surfer, or sorry, Soul Surfer, Silver Surfer. The Herald of Unicron. And I probably would have, instead of having Unicron attack her, Unicron attacks Cybertron. I can't remember how it went down, guys. But I'll tell you what, I could sit in a room for a week and come up with a better fucking outline than what they did. That I guarantee. But there's a different time too, right? So it was just amazing that there was even a Transformers cartoon movie at the time. That was just ridiculous. So, it's alright. It's leagues beyond fucking the He-Man movie. Which if it wasn't for Frank Langella, it would be completely pointless. Frank Langella was awesome though, right? And they didn't know. It was a different era, I can't sit there and hold them to today's standards. I can hold the current fucking Transformers movies to today's standards, though. That I can do. Dicks. Alright, so we'll do Supersonic. Yeah, they got no excuse now. I think I was reading an interview with some guys who pitched in the writer's room for the new Transformer stuff that they don't know, they haven't used much of it. Or they just hodgepodge these ideas. But one of the pitches was, hey, we're going to team up G.I. Joe Transformers. And they were told, nope, Michael Bay doesn't want to do it. So my guess is, I don't know. Yeah, it's weird, man. It's got Hitler and King Arthur and the kids from fucking Stranger Things or Super 8. And it's got a GoBot. It's got a Vespa GoBot. It's fucking weird, man. It's got a dinosaur. It's got a dinosaur. It's not a Dinobot, but it's got a Dinobot puking. Yeah, everything I always wanted in a Transformer movie. So glad they're making it. Can't wait. Hopefully China won't bail them out of this one. I love Transformers, man. Love them. It's my shit, you know. But I gave up on the movies. Surprisingly, not with the second one because whatever was wrong with the second one, it started and ended with things that I enjoyed. But I was like, I blame the writer's strike on the second one. They had the writer's strike and they tried to make it regardless, and they shouldn't have. And I figured, well, they'll learn their lessons. Um, but the third one had a great trailer, a great premise, and they fucking threw it away. You know, made a nothing movie about God knows what. So the only thing I came out of the third one saying, well, the 3D was fun, and they put in Terry Tate. So at least I got to see Terry Tate, which I didn't even expect. But they should have had Galvatron, man. And the Galvatron Unicron fucking storyline should have been the third one. And then Michael Bay should have handed it off to someone else. I was always like, they should give it to Jon Favreau. Well, what about Alien? Cowboys versus Aliens? I'm like, everyone gets a fucking whatever. It's got Spielberg and Ron Howard. Who knows what the fuck went wrong with that movie? And then Jon Favreau went and made Jungle Book. But he at least likes to ground some level of reality. And Transformers need some reality at this point. They need a little less fantasy. At this point, I'd be happy if the High Noon Studios guys who made the Transformers games were in charge of these fucking films. You know? I was always hoping they would adapt a bit of that War Within storyline, you know, where Grimlock versus Optimus Prime back in the day, you know, on Cybertron. He put like one of the things he did on Iron Man that I thought was really really cool was he went out of his way to make certain that when you were flying around with Iron Man, they put little specks of water would hit an atmosphere and dirt would sort of hit the camera, so you're like right with him, you know. It's little shit like that, just to give you the feeling of like you're up there with him and that it's more real, you know. Thought that was cool. So at least with this Bumblebee movie, someone not Michael Bay is directing it, so we'll see what that looks like. But for all I know, it could be a studio-driven film, and he won't get a chance to do shit. The Coraline guy, or I'm sorry, the guy who just directed not the Coraline guy, but the guy who just directed Kubo. I mean, he owns Leica, but he directed Kubo. Whatever that guy, his fucking name is. You don't have to be a genius at storytelling. You just gotta think really simply. Where do they start up? Where do they end? As long as it's different, you know, emotionally as a character, you got a movie. You got a story. Put it that way. You got a story. You know, they can go from good to bad, bad to good. You know, bad to worse. Maybe their life gets better, but they personally become an asshole, and it's a story of, you know, falling. There just needs to be some level of change. Supersonic. Supersonic. Travis Knight. Ah, that guy. He's directing the Bumblebee movie. They say. They're doing what we did when we played with Transformers. They're getting all the Transformers, building a little fort, and coming up with some bullshit storyline to explain all your sister's dolls that are in the mix. Oh, look, we got some Barbies, we got some GoBots, we got a Hitler figurine. You know, do I like the Ghostbusters reboot? I just thought the Ghostbusters reboot had a lot of talent that just didn't have very good writing. It had a generic storyline. It looked like Sony was trying to remake Men in Black again. You know, I didn't like the art direction, and it just looked like they were trying to remake Men in Black. Looked like another Men in Black remake. You know, I don't think they were trying to make Ghostbusters. Sony's been on this fucking remaking Men in Black kick since Evolution. You know, so I think it's as good as Evolution. It'll sit on the shelf and be whatever. Could have been, but it's just not a very funny movie. Not a very good Ghostbusters movie. I don't know what it's trying to be. Yeah. It's not even a reboot. I don't know what you would call it. I really think that movie needed, you know, someone with a little bit more. I mean, should have just met just let Max Landis direct it at this point, you know? The Zombieland was dope, you know? Those look horrible. Yeah, this is a giant fucking oversaturated CG nonsense, you know? I didn't like Ghostbusters 2. I told people that Ghostbusters 2 was my first Phantom Menace-like experience at the movie theater. I walked out going, I should have saw Aliens 3, and I knew that movie wasn't that great. But Ghostbusters 2 was just like a bad remake of the first movie. So it had some moments, but it was largely a cartoon of the first film. You know, for me, I thought it was pretty simple. It's very simple. You want to do a female-driven Ghostbusters, but you also want to have some main lead characters. Make it very simple. Chris Hemsworth should have been Oscar. Dana Barrett's kid she had with the fucking dickhead cellist, musician guy, right? And then you make Egon have a daughter, right? Could have been, what's her face? Kate McKinnon. And she wants to get the Ghostbusters going back up, but he's not on board because he probably owns the rights to it or some shit like that. And then they end up having to save him to prove to him that fucking ghosts are fucking real and that they got a point or some shit like that, you know? And then they unite them together, you know? I don't think it's that hard, dude. Like, I just don't think it's like hard is how do you make a fucking Ant-Man movie? How as hard as how do you make Scott Pilgrim? You know? Like, Ghostbusters ain't that hard, dude. They got a lore, you know? It's already been set up. You know, and you could have Oscar reject it because he doesn't like his father. His biological father, he barely knew. He didn't like Peter. Probably resented his mother. Then, you know, you got a fucking story there. You got some growth. But whatever, dude. You know what, man? Just, that's the movie we got. So I just don't care. They don't care. I don't care. I can't wait for Stranger Things too. That's what I wait for. You know. The only thing that could really piss me off at this point is if they fuck up Defenders. You know? Or the Punisher. But I think the Scott Buck Iron Fist debacle will teach Netflix a good lesson. Marvel, Netflix, whoever the fuck. Well, those Stranger Things guys talked to the fucking Game of Thrones dude, and they've said no more than 4 seasons on Stranger Things, so I'll give these guys the fucking benefit of the doubt. You know? They tried to make it, and they couldn't make it, so they made that instead. Gotta give them props. Did I like Jessica? Yeah, I like Jessica Jones. I didn't think I would. I like it. It had a vibe that was very similar to Unbreakable to me. It was like, wow, if they kept making Unbreakable, I wish it would be like this. And since they put Luke Cage in there, he's unbreakable. You know, I thought that the very end way she kind of defeated him could have been a little bit more, I don't know, cinematic, not quite the word, but yeah. And I like that it took its time. People are like, oh, she's just on the bus looking around town. I'm like, I like that. They don't do that in movies anymore. They used to do it in the 70s, but they don't do it. But I like the mood. I like that. And what I wish they would have done with the Netflix is, like, I wish the shows were a little bit more, like, the environment should play a character. Since they're in New York, and each one has a section of New York, they should really play up. So she's Brooklyn, or so she's Manhattan, the glitzier side of things, even though she's trash, right? She's in this sparkling part of the city where she is this not so sparkling person on the inside. And then you have Daredevil, who's in Hell's Kitchen, who's like a guy who sees justice in a part of town that sees no justice. And then you have Harlem, where you have this long lineage of persecution and culture sort of wrapped up in one another. And then should have Chinatown, which is what Iron Fist should be, but it isn't. And I just wish they had played the parts of the city against one another so I really know where everything is geologically. And then Defenders is about bringing all the different parts of the city together to defeat a common enemy. You know? I don't know if every show is meant to be binged though, but I do appreciate like Harlem should also like if I could like the time to do that flash forward flashback would have been that show showing Harlem throughout the ages, what it was like in the 60s versus the 80s versus now, and the way these characters grew up there and their families grew up there and the history of that. That would have been its niche. Yeah. So well, I think everything should have a little bit of. It's like in a chapter in a book, you have problem, and then the next chapter is resolving that problem, and then there's this period where they sort of have to regroup. Your characters regroup from that experience, and then make new choices, which create the next problem. And I think that these shows do a good job of creating a little bit of that book format. You know, what I don't like is when it turns into I don't want it to be every episode has to be some new character. That's where the CW shows lose me. They just keep throwing in more characters to try to make it more interesting. And I'm like, I really wish the characters would react on their decisions a little bit more. Like when Barry does something 2 episodes ago, hey, I probably shouldn't do that now because I did that other fucking thing and it didn't work out too well. You know? Almost like I just feel like a lot of times they're just doing things. Or throwing new characters in there to make it more interesting. And it's like, no, that's not it. I really wish these characters would learn. Because they seem real stupid to me when they don't. And I like these characters. Later, Lefty. They just keep adding things. We're going to have this character. That's called fan service. I don't care about that. You can get to it all eventually, but characters first. Team ups later. Do 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 do. Well, there were parts of it I liked. Even in the first season, there were parts of it I hate. I first started watching Arrow. I heard good things about it. Turn it on. And I'm like, bow and arrow, dude. Here we go. And then he murders people. And I'm like, well, finally, someone's actually doing what they would probably have to do. And since he has probably the shittiest fucking weapon in the world, at least he's murdering people with these bows and arrows. And then they got rid of it. And I was like, motherfuckers. He had to be better than that. No, he doesn't have to be better than that. You could go back and show how he tried to be better than that, and worse things happen. But then there was this part of the show where, like, after he kills people, they go to the Belly Burger. And I'm like, I don't need them to pretend to be Buffy now, where they go to the Bronze and hang out. It would always be weird. Like that Huntress. Remember the first time the Huntress showed up? They go out there and murder a bunch of people and then go for a nice date night at the Belly Burger. And you're like, fucking this show, man. So I felt like it gave some stuff, but then it came at a price. And in the first season of The Flash, did a really good job of the father-son story and the competing fathers, the two different types of fathers, right? But then there was that stupid love story between him and Iris, and I'm just like, I don't care, man. These generic fucking love stories. I gotta have my sister, which is really an anime trope. I'm in love with my half sister, but she's not really my sister. It's a weird anime trope, man. I don't know why they went that way with that. It's like just not. Yeah, I've already seen Buffy, and I've seen Buffy done better than they're doing. Now they're doing a musical episode. I'm like, they just really want to be Buffy. And I've already seen Buffy. I watch Buffy a lot, and they need to go beyond that. Buffy did Buffy. You don't have to pretend to be Buffy. Luckily, my wife watches enough Buffy. She got it, so we could stop watching it. I had to get out after the Flashpoint because I thought the Flashpoint would be a great way for them to solve problems, with the show. Fixed a few things, and it did nothing. And I was like, fuck this, I don't love enough. I don't care about seeing a giant gorilla talk, I'm out. It's not for me, It's not for me. Whatever it is, it's not for me. So I tried Supergirl when it was on NBC, gave up quickly. Tried again when they brought him back with Superman, that one episode, and it was cute, but again, it's a girl who's just a little too perfect, A little too perfect. I have the perfect boyfriend and the perfect job. I just don't know what's missing. I'm like, I know a fucking point. No pathos. Job's too fucking easy. I mean, there was more pathos in the original animated series storylines. Remember the Harvey Dent episode? Or the fucking Mr. Freeze episode? Like, I'm sorry, but if your show can't get as dark as that fucking cartoon, then I got no care. This isn't for me. I don't love this stuff enough to care. I'll go watch something. I'll go watch anime, man. There's plenty of great anime. I'll go watch Food Wars. I'll watch Haikyuu. I'll watch what's that one where they go back in time to the 80s? I want to say it's not. I forget the name. Grimgar. There's all sorts of things I can watch. I don't need to sit through this. Like, I only got through 4 minutes and 40 seconds of Iron Fist before I turned it off. Like, I'm done. I'm out. Right when he did the reverse karate kick into the elevator. Like, I'm out. I don't need to see anymore. This show's not for me. I'm sorry. I don't feel the obligation. I need my life, you know? I can't do it. You're a better man than me. I couldn't do it. I actually looked at the time. I said I need to make sure what time I quit on the show because I'm never gonna forget. Yeah, he'd probably look like he'd been outside for more than a fucking minute. Pretty boy. Pretty boy. Jesse Pinkman looked tougher than this fucking guy. You know what I'm saying? Like just bad casting all around. Bad showrunner. Bad showrunner. Bad casting. Bad idea for a story. You know, all around, just a top-notch shit job. You know. All right, everybody. I'm gonna finish this up offline so I can put on some techno music, and get this wrapped up. So, because I got 2 hours, I gotta get this completely set up, and I'm just not gonna move very fast. It's just flats. So we hung out here for 3 hours. I actually have to stand up now. I'm an hour behind my break. I'll get all this wrapped up, and I gotta get flats for the IDW project done tomorrow. I'll be on tomorrow drawing Final Fantasy IX for at least an hour or two minimum. So if you want to come on and hang out then that's what I'll be doing. Good times, everybody. We talked all the way through. Can you believe it? Good times, Ash. Good times, everybody. I'll be back soon. Peace. Good night, everybody. Gamal Dream, everybody. Peace.